Hello, welcome to another video. I thought in this video I'd take you through what I use for my portable amateur radio kit. I've made a lot of videos about activations, but I've never really done one taking people through what I normally take to a summit or just for general portable use. So I'm out here today. This is not a SOTA summit here, but it is a beautiful place. It's called Ivinghoe Beacon. Yeah, it's a beautiful summer's day. It's the start of September, so we've just got the end of summer, but it's very warm today, very pleasant. So what we have here is obviously the ubiquitous picnic mat and my rucksack. So I've got all of my stuff inside the rucksack. This is what I normally carry up to a summit. It's got enough space for a jumper, all my HF kit, everything I pretty much need for an activation and a day of walking as well. So it's just the right size, and what I'm going to do next is unpack it all and just lay it out on the mat so you can see exactly what I've brought and, you know, just how much stuff you could actually pack away into there. It's pretty impressive. Okay, so here's the next step. So I've pulled out everything that was previously inside the rucksack. It's now all laid out on the picnic mat, and you can see what I've got going on here is a bit of a Russian doll type scenario. So I unpack one bag and then find multitudes of other bags inside that one bag, and there's probably other little bags inside of these bags as well. But everything's got a rhyme and reason, and it's all organised the way it is for good reason, and it's basically something I've honed over the years. I guess you could say today I'm probably carrying a bit more than I would normally say to the top of a mountain, but this generally represents the kit that I take along. The bags here, these 3 bags, these are just quite useful containers. They're not waterproof in any way, but they do hold useful things. So for example, in here I've got everything I need to guy the dipole. I've got a 10-meter mast over there, you can see, so I've got everything that I need in there. I've got, you know, the guying ropes, tent pegs, multitudes of cable ties, as you can see coming out the end there. I'll poke that one back in, and a whole bunch of bungee straps and a few other things as well. So no matter where I end up or wherever I end up setting up and operating from, I can always get my mast up basically. If there's a fence post, great, I can strap it to it. If not, I've got the guy ropes, which is what I plan to use today. In the red bag, got a linked dipole. I'll show you that in more detail later, but at a high level it covers, what does it cover, 60 meters, 40 meters and 20 meters, so it gives me options. In this one, this is my kind of random bag. I've got a whole bunch of different things in here. I've got a paper log, a pencil, the microphone for my KX3, just little bits and bobs that I always need, just keeps them in one place. In this plastic bag here, that's where the battery lives, so he's in there. I'll show you that in a bit more detail later. And what have we got here? So I don't know if you can see it, but this is a 5-litre dry bag. You can't really read what's on the front, but it's a dry bag, so it's completely waterproof, and that's what I use to store the KX3 in. So when I'm out walking, sometimes it can start raining, sometimes it's raining all day, so it just gives me peace of mind. I know even if I've got my rucksack cover on, the rainproof cover, I still know if conditions are really awful, it's torrential rain, that my KX3, you know, which the Elecrafts aren't cheap by any stretch of the imagination, it's going to stay dry and it's still going to work. So that's why I store it in a dry bag. It's the only thing that really I feel that needs to be stored in a dry bag. I mean, I've got the battery in a little plastic bag. So yeah, that's it. I've shown you the mast already. What is quite impressive about this mast is it's quite compact, to be honest. It's a 10-meter long mast. It telescopes out, and there's many sections inside, which, you know, enables it to be so small. But it's no more than about 1 meter in length. That next to it, you've got the iPad, which I generally use for logging. I quite like it. Sometimes I'll just use the iPhone, which I always have with me anyway, but most times I tend to bring this along as well. Adds a bit of extra weight, but I quite like having my log at my fingertips and all the other features it enables me to have. This is a pretty simple investment, but very wise. There's something to sit on basically. So quite often I won't have the picnic mat. So if I'm setting up and it's slightly damp, I just sit on that, and it keeps me dry, keeps me warm, keeps me off the ground, and it's surprisingly comfy. A couple of quid, so it's definitely a wise investment. Other than that, you can see I've got a jumper there. I always take a jumper or just another layer, or maybe even a few layers depending on the conditions. You can get quite cold when you're out portable, even in the summer like today. All it takes is for the cloud to appear, for the wind to pick up, and suddenly you can get very cold. So it's definitely a wise thing to bring along. Got some water there, 1 litre bottle. I do actually have a bladder pack for that. It carries 3 litres, but I don't tend to carry it around that often unless I'm doing like an all-day walk. Most times I'll just carry a little bottle like that. On to little bits and bobs. So what have we got here? We've got the license. So this is a print off of my amateur radio license, M0 JCQ, and I've never needed it yet, but I like to have it with me just in case anyone asks, or police turn up and start questioning exactly what you're doing. You can pull that out and appease them. So it's nice to have that. I like to take it along, and it weighs nothing as well. It's in a waterproof bag, obviously. Don't want that to get wet because it'd be useless. Penknife for general repairs, really. They're very useful, that you can repair a lot of things in the field using that, make a lot of kind of temporary antenna repairs and cut stuff, and yeah, just very useful. Finally, a compass as well. This is more useful when I'm out on the hills navigating, and also for VHF and UHF use, where I want to know exactly where I'm pointing the beam. When I'm using HF, not so much of a important bit of equipment, but certainly it's nice to know where your dipole is going to be radiating out of most effectively, because it can kind of dictate exactly how you set up the ends of the dipole. Because today I want most of my signal going north and south of the United Kingdom, because I want to work the UK. If I wanted to work Europe, then I could arrange it differently according to the information this gives me. So that's the overview. The next step will be to unpack it all, and we'll see what it looks like then. Okay, so we get to the real meat of what I'm carrying around now. So you can see I've unpacked all the multitude of bags and taken the contents out. And yeah, so we'll just quickly go over what we have here. So this is the link dipole that I mentioned earlier. Let's see if we can get a better view of this. So this is obviously the center feed point. That's just a cable tie to hold it onto the mast, and then you can see on this nice little winder, and we'll talk about those in a bit, I've got all the coax. This is ultra thin RG174 coax, very lightweight, and also more importantly, well, maybe not more importantly than lightweight, but it doesn't catch the wind. So if you're out portable on a summit and it's blowing a gale, it doesn't have the habit of catching the wind so much, because it's nice and thin. The wind just kind of goes round it as opposed to catching it and then making your mast blow all over the place. So that's the link dipole. Once again, as I said earlier, it's 60, 40 and 20 meters. We've got the mast over here, and then we've got all the guying stuff here, so the cable ties to kind of hold the coax onto the mast, to once again stop it even more from catching the wind. It's not essential. You can kind of wrap the coax around the mast to stop it to an extent, but if I'm out for a while, I like to do that. It just feels a bit more proper. Then we've got the guying ropes themselves. If you can see, we're using one of these winders again. If we pop this out, this is the center support. I don't know if I can get him out. There we go. So this is the bit that goes, hang on, that's not a great view, is it? Let's try and get him out. There we go. So that's the bit that I put the mast into, basically, and it's rotatable, which is quite handy. So if I'm using a beam on the mast for VHF, I can spin the mast and it doesn't twist all this guying supports. So it's rotatable, basically. Quite useful. 10 pegs, obviously. Coming on over here, we've got the waterproof logbook. I don't tend to use it that often because I mostly log on the iPad, but I like to have a backup just in case, and it's completely waterproof, so I can use this in the rain, I can write in the rain, but Also, as an observation now, I've got a pencil here as opposed to a pen. If you use regular ink, of course the paper is waterproof, but the ink is soluble. So you'll just end up with a blobby, inky mess at the end of the day if you try and write in the rain with a ballpoint pen. And more importantly, that they won't even write if they get wet themselves. So the good old pencil comes into play there, much more sustainable. Over here we've got the mic for the KX3 inside this little bag. We've got the KX3 itself, and you can see I've pulled it outside of the waterproof bag, and then we've got this, I believe it's a strobe case actually, by Think Tank. But what it does do is perfectly fit and house the KX3. So this gives me an added level of confidence and protection that I'm not going to damage my rig when I'm stuffing all the other kit into my bag. So I like that. Over here we've got the Lipo Battery. I've made a video about that recently as well, talking about why I've chosen these, but essentially they're lightweight, they're small, and they have high voltage output, or at least kind of sustainable, dependable voltage output. So it puts out 13.2 volts, lets me run the KX3 at maximum power, so I can run it 15 watts, 10 watts. Normally, if your power supply is about 12 volts and then drops a bit, the KX3 will kind of reduce the power output to about 5 watts maximum. But with this, I can run the KX3 for about 4 hours, not too much of an issue. On top here, we've got a little voltage monitor as well, which I'll show you in action later. Other than that, we've just got the power cable for the KX3 and the iPad for logging. So I'll set everything up and we'll take a look at it then. Okay, so everything's been unpacked, everything's been set up now. You can see we've got the mast up in the air, 10-meter mast. You probably can't see it, it's so small, but the centre support is right up there. It's the orange blob, if you can see that. Probably near one of those clouds, I guess. You can see that the mast bends quite a lot. It's very flexible, and especially at the top, you can never mount anything on the last meter. That's about a meter down that feed point. To be honest, it's a lot stronger, you know, the further down the mast you go. So if I lowered that another meter, it wouldn't be bending so much. But it works. The idea being that, you know, you're out here not for such a long time. It's rapid deployment. It's not going to stay up for that long. So I don't tend to make it look perfect. You know, if I was running for a day, then I would. But generally, I'll be activating a summit for maybe half an hour. Possibly less, possibly I might even just be making the 4 contacts, then taking it all down and moving on again. So yeah, we got the dipole up in the air. It's currently unclipped, so it's resonant on 20 meters. And let's walk over to the operating station. So what have we got here? I'll try and move so I'm not blocking the view of my shadow. You can see there's a contest going on at the moment. As always at the weekend, there's always a contest on. This particular weekend is Works All Europe. So I'll be listening to a few stations. I think this is a Yankee Papa station. I did hear a 4 X-ray station, Israel, calling CQ. I was about to respond and then he just moved frequency and I don't know where he's gone, so that evaded me. Oh well. But you can see the Elecraft KX3 here. I'm going to turn that down a bit. It's slightly irritating. There we go, that's better. A lot of QRM on the bands, a lot of big contest stations out for this, so yeah, that makes sense. And this is the KX3, this is what I tend to use for the majority of my operation. Also, something I didn't really show you earlier were these earphones here. I've not got them plugged in at the moment just because I wanted some audio for the video. But when I'm operating, I tend to use these because I don't want to irritate other people with all the noise that the KX3 is pumping out. Especially, you know, when there's a contest going on, it's just a whole bunch of racket. And in this kind of environment, it's kind of unfair on other people, I think, to ruin their peace. So I tend to use those quite a lot. Also, it helps me to hear very weak signals indeed, which I just simply can't decipher on a loudspeaker. The loudspeaker on the KX3 isn't particularly good anyway, so yeah, I like to use the earphones quite a lot. I've got the iPad set up for logging here. Using an application called RumLog for iPad, and that seems to work pretty well for me. That's about it really. We've got the Lipo battery there, the lithium-ion polymer battery. That'll keep the KX3 going for a while, and some water, and that's it. So that's an overview of what I generally take. I'm going to turn the audio right down. So that's an overview of what I generally take on these portable kind of setups and missions that I tend to go on HF at least, and you can see all the kit. So hopefully that was useful. If there's anything else you want to know, just let me know in the comments and I'll get back to you. Anyway, 73s for now from M0 JCQ Portable.